Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's adventure. Today we're going to talk about theocracy. Do you know what theocracy means? Not sure? Well, the word theocracy comes from two Greek words which, when joined together, literally mean God government, or in other words, a government ruled by God. In a theocracy, the one who rules is God, the King of heaven, and his people obey his laws. In Israel, God gave the laws. He was the judge, and when necessary, he also determined the punishment. Because God is all-wise, all-knowing, all-powerful, and all-merciful, he is able to govern his people perfectly. He knows our intentions and understands our condition, and that is why all his judgments are fair. God didn't always punish them directly or immediately for disobedience, but let the Israelites face the consequences of their wrongdoings and withdrew his protection so that they would learn from their own mistakes. In fact, God left all these things written in the Bible so we can learn from them and not make the same mistakes. Let's hear how Zedekiah learns about the organization of the people of God from Moses.
Good morning, Moses. I've come to you to appeal my case.
Hello, son. What's your name, and which tribe are you from?
My name is Zedekiah, and I'm from the tribe of Dan.
That's an interesting name, Zedekiah. Well, you surely know where to bring your case.
Yes. Hey, now that you mention it, I remember that my name means God is my judge.
Yes, and it has great meaning for you. You know something, Zedekiah. God has shown me how to organize our legal system in Israel. We've appointed different judges in each one of the tribes so that they can take the smaller matters. When the problem can't be solved by that judge, the case can then be appealed to a higher judge. You see, in this way, only the most difficult cases are brought to me, so I can present them to God.
Well, that's good, Moses, because you surely deserve some help. We've seen how you sit from morning till evening listening to cases and judging the people.
Thank you, Zedekiah, for your concern. That's the reason why we've elected judges over 10, over 50, over 100, and over 1,000 people. God told us to choose judges who hate covetousness, who trust him and fear him.
Then should I take my case to one of the judges of the tribe of Dan?
Yes, they will help you solve your case.
Thank you for your answer, Moses. However, I have another question. Why is death the punishment for so many transgressions? Isn't God a loving and forgiving God?
That's an interesting question. Look, the result of sin is death according to the moral law, and God forgives it if the person repents. However, Israel is also a nation, and in order to maintain national order and personal freedom, the civil law requires, in some cases, the death penalty. That death penalty is given to those who willfully break those civil laws and rebel against God's leadership and authority. But when the people obey God, there's no need for such a punishment. In fact, there are only a few such cases on record because God has taken care of the most difficult ones.
You mean like what happened with Korah, Dathan, and Abiram when they rebelled against God and you? Oh, that was terrible. It seemed like the people were possessed by an evil spirit.
Exactly. In God's eyes, the sin of rebellion is the same as witchcraft. An evil spirit possesses the sinner and blinds him, just as Lucifer was blinded in heaven. Once a sinner has gone so far, there's very little God's Spirit can do for him.
Now I understand why God opened up the ground and they all died there.
Look, Zedekiah, it could be that some of the people believed that they were right, and should defend their beliefs and maybe even admired their independent spirit. But my cousin Korah, with his friends Dathan and Abiram from the tribe of Reuben, stepped on very dangerous ground. They refused to submit themselves to God's leadership. They envied me and coveted power and fame. They felt that they deserved a better position. Oh, they were proud and used their talents to deceive others into openly rebelling against God.
I can't believe how people who receive so much honor from God could dare to think they know better than He.
Look, son, the spirit of rebellion is in the very air that we breathe. It's so easy to rebel when we've lost patience and don't understand God's will. Oh, and for many, it's too humiliating to admit they are wrong.
That's true, Moses. I heard the people in the camp saying that all the problems were because you were not a good leader. But now I see that the reason why we're still in the desert is because we're not ready to enter the promised land. The only thing I hear is complaining, judging, and rebellion. Everybody wants to do things their own way. Why is it so hard to trust and obey God?
It's because of our evil inclinations, and this condition is very serious. Every day I go before God to intercede for the disobedience and complaining of my people.
Now I understand something very important, dear Moses. Instead of complaining and judging you for what I sometimes think you are not doing, I should be praying for you, helping my people to love God, and teaching them to obey His commandments. I definitely need to make God my judge. Goodbye, Moses, and thank you for making me think.
That will make our work much easier, my dear Zedekiah. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Shalom, my friend.
Well, kids, we've seen how important the organization God gave to Moses was. In the same way, God has instructed His church to be organized. The judges over 10 represent your local church. The judges over 50 represent the fields or missions where your local church belongs. Above these are our unions, and higher up are the divisions. Finally, the General Conference represents those 70 elders chosen by God to serve the people and solve the more difficult matters. But don't forget, our leaders are just human beings and instruments in the hands of God. Sometimes they make human mistakes, just as Moses did, but that doesn't give us the right to disobey or rebel against God's appointing ministers. The true followers of Jesus are always humble and obedient children. The Apostle Paul knew the Bible truths very well and was a great leader. Nevertheless, God didn't ask him to work apart from the church. No. God sent Paul to work in harmony under the leadership of the church. God will always work in an organized way, and even at the end of time when the church of God is persecuted because of her faithfulness to His commandments, this organization will continue in one way or another. I'd like to quote from Hebrews 13:17 from the New Living Translation. It says, "Obey your spiritual leaders and do what they say. Their work is to watch over your souls, and they are accountable to God." I have an idea. You know what? Let's make a list of 10 pastors and Bible workers you know, and then pray for them this week. They are the ones Satan wants to destroy first, and he attacks them. Choose to pray for them instead of gossiping about them. God bless you, and I'll see you next week in our next adventure. Bye-bye.